Hey guys, Matty H once again talking to you about another A-League game from round 1 2018-2019 season. This time we have the Melbourne Derby, Melbourne Victory hosting Melbourne City at Marvel Stadium in Melbourne. With just over 40,000 people, we had an absolutely blockbuster game and by far the best game of round 1 in the A-League. We had goals, we had flare-ups, the odd VAR controversy, what's new in the A-League. Welcome to the game and my review. Let's get into the highlights.
Yes, welcome one and all. It is the first sporting event at the newly renamed Marvel Stadium, and many no doubt have come to marvel. It's arguably the A-League's biggest name since Alessandro Del Piero. Keisuke Honda is the real thoroughbred in Melbourne today, but while his quality is not in doubt, the ability of Victory to find a system to suit him just might be.
He's almost playing up with Fornaroli when they're attacking and drops back in to create a five-man midfield when they lose the ball.
Antonis, awkward for Galekovic. I'm not sure that was intentional. Maybe it was. Terry Antonis will know. But Galekovic had to backpedal very quickly to palm that one away.
Yeah, well, it was just floated. He's definitely crossing.
A handful of games under Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United. There he is, nutmegging Terry Antonis. He doubts his pedigree. Richard Delatz. Rich now with Caceres, who will slide it through, and Fornaroli is onto it. Lawrence Thomas had to make it, and fortunately for Victory, he did. Antonis inside the penalty area. Nice little reverse ball for Stormaroo to hang it up. Honda! That's what they came to see. His first goal for Melbourne Victory. And the well-oiled scoring machine clicks into gear for his new club at the first time of asking. 1-0 Victory.
Well, it's a thumping header from Honda. It's not what we're really used to seeing him do, but it just shows you that in his locker, he truly has everything.
Dropping the shoulder, trying to get rid of Niedermeyer. He's got three around him now, Bruno Fornaroli, and he's drawn the foul. Victory fans don't like it. Just waiting for the OK. Oh, here we go.
This could be a pen.
This could be a penalty. Another look at it.
Okay.
Is there a slight push there from Bayona? I mean, well, I don't think so, to be honest, but maybe I'm missing something there.
Yep, penalty.
Penalty. Kevin Muscat can scarcely believe it. Put the crowd out of his mind and focus on squaring the ledger for Melbourne City. Saved by Thomas, but in on the follow-up by Richard Delatz, who was first to react, and it is all square in the Melbourne Derby.
Oh, he's so unlucky, Thomas. A brilliant save, but credit Richie Delatz, who's the first to react and finishes it well. So they get lucky on two occasions.
Troisi might open up for him. James Troisi off the frame of the goal. And Victory was so close to restoring their advantage. They still might.
Opened up for him. Right idea. Inside of the post, centimetres.
Now the pitch opens up at the other end for City on the counter. Luke Bratton leading the charge. Riley McGree in position. It's Riley McGree! Oh, what an introduction! Off the bench. I think it's his first touch of the game, and he scored for City to put them 2-1 ahead. Remarkable.
Well, it was his first touch of the game, and what a finish, and what a run from deep. And he came, you could see him coming, and no one picked him up.
Ham says enough, and it is Melbourne City who record just their second derby win in 6 attempts. Riley McGree off the bench, onto the score sheet with his very first.
So here, guys, we have the goal scorers and the subs for both teams. Honda giving Melbourne Victory the lead on the 28th minute. Lovely header from a well-worked play. Richie Delatz equalising the 40th minute, following up from a saved penalty. Lawrence Thomas did really well getting down to his left, only to see Delatz follow up and put the ball in the back of the net. 1-1 at half-time. Riley McGree did an extremely good job from a Luke Bratton through ball in the 70th minute to bring the Chockies home for Melbourne City. What I do find very interesting here is that both teams left it very late to make their subs. I did think, in particular, Victory was looking a bit tired at one stage and might have looked to use their bench a little bit earlier, particularly where they were actually trailing. But all in all, very entertaining game, highly exciting, gave the fans something to enjoy, even if it was very frustrating in the end for Melbourne Victory. Here you'll see the Melbourne Victory lineup, a 4-4-2 diamond. Both Antonis and Honda did play very narrow at times throughout the game, trying to encourage their fullbacks forward, something that was done very inconsistently, which meant that from time to time, Melbourne Victory was very narrow with their shape. You will also notice number 7, Kenny Athieu, got his first start for Melbourne Victory. Their new Swedish centre forward, Toivonen, actually missed the game through injury. Also, Thomas Dean was still coming back from international duty. He started on the bench. Otherwise, you have to say we had a pretty full-strength Melbourne Victory. And when you consider the actual result in relation to the way they played, there's some very good-looking signs for Melbourne Victory. Melbourne City, on the other hand, played a bit more of a lopsided formation, a mixture between a 4-3-3 and a 4-5-1. Lockie Wales on the right played a lot more further forward, a lot higher as a right winger. Something to accommodate Richie Delat at right back. He was able to bomb forward a lot more than what Dalbridge was on the left. When the team was initially listed, when the squad news was actually handed out, it looked like a 5-3-2, but over time we actually saw there was a lot more of a flat back four with Richie Delat bombing forward. Looking at the full-time stats, Melbourne Victory did actually dominate or hold most of the stats for the game, which is pretty positive. Even though they didn't get the result they wanted, it does show that there's something for Melbourne Victory to work with going forward, that they've got something they can build off. Hopefully a strong little core that's going to help them in the next few weeks get settled. From the game itself, I'd like to highlight the fact that Melbourne Victory had 7 of their 17 shots from outside the box. Melbourne City had 1 shot from 8 outside the box. This is a pretty significant stat because only 20% of a team's goals will come from outside the area. While they do look spectacular, anytime you take a shot from outside the box, it is a low return opportunity. So a team does have to be very, very careful and essentially try to build in the low opportunity outside the box attempts as a means of having some sort of variance, as a means of trying to find some sort of space. The other thing I'd like to talk about is the fact that even though Melbourne Victory dominated the crosses and the corners, Melbourne City did do extremely well with the aerial duels, which does help to negate the risk of having so many crosses, so many balls into the box from an aerial point of view. On to the 3 things from the game. I'll start with the VAR at the very end. I'm going to get into the impact of the 2 new marquees, Richie Delat for Melbourne City and Honda for Melbourne Victory. Both have had a very, very good start to their careers in Melbourne. Honda was absolutely fantastic. That goal that he scored off his head on the 28th minute is exactly what has brought him out here. It's why Melbourne Victory and the FFA have spent so much money to get him here. If the rest of his season's half as good as that goal and half as good as that first game, Melbourne Victory is going to be on an absolute winner. As for Richie Delat, he was fantastic at right back. It is unusual to see a marquee playing as either a left or a right side defender. I will make the point that Melbourne City were missing 2 of their usual fullbacks, 1 to injury, 1 to international duty. So once those 2 are back, Melbourne City actually plays Richie Delat in the middle, and that's going to be a big, big benefit for them. The next thing to then talk about is how long it's going to take for both sides to gel. If Saturday night is anything to go by, both teams should be pretty settled fairly quickly. As we tend to know in the A-League, both the Melbourne and Sydney derbys are pretty big games. They help drive some of the interest in the competition. So having 2 fully functioning teams is going to be pretty helpful for the A-League to get themselves into the news week in, week out with some pretty positive news stories. Unfortunately, that can't really be said in its entirety for this first week, and I think that largely comes down to this game and the VAR controversy. Melbourne Victory fans will feel quite aggrieved by what happened. The foul itself didn't really look like there was that much contact or that much force coming through. That being said, contact is contact, and what people need to actually remember here is that the referee is giving the free kick for the foul outside the box. When you look at the mandate of the VAR is not there to overturn free kicks in the general field of play. If that had happened to Bruno Fornaroli in the middle of the park, if Fornaroli had been fouled out by the corner flag, then what we would actually see is a free kick given and we wouldn't think too much of it. The problem in this situation actually comes down to the referee making error. The VAR in itself was actually followed almost to the letter of the T to the protocol, where the VAR has gone in the ear of the referee and said, hey, if you're going to call that a foul, if you're going to call that a free kick, you need to take a look because the foul had occurred or it started inside the box. It does really suck, and I think it's one of those things that the A-League does have to look and talk about because ultimately it's a bad impression for the game, irrespective of protocol being followed or not. Thanks for watching the video. I will be doing regular videos for the A-League, so if you're interested in watching some more content, please hit the subscribe button down below. Until next time, this is Matty H, wishing you a good one.